this nice sunny day in Kent. Well, welcome to our 2021 City of Kent Mayoral debate. Questions will reflect the interests and concerns of the Kent business community. The speaking order of the candidates was determined via a flip of a coin just prior to this event, and we will start with Don Bennett. I was trying to say incumbent, but that's not
right.
you. Don Bennett this afternoon. With the limited time that we have, the candidates will each have 2 minutes for opening and closing statements. Each question will have 90 seconds to respond, as well as a minute for rebuttals after their opponent has spoken. In the moderator's discretion, there may be follow-up questions or an opportunity for a rebuttal. If you have questions, please write them down clearly and concisely on the note cards at the table. Please raise them high so that a member of the staff, Kent Chamber staff, can pick them up. They will be reviewed by the government affairs and staff, and in about 25 minutes, those will be picked up, and they will be asked by my co-chair, Todd Miner, at the appropriate time. Thank you in advance to the candidates for taking your time, your talents, and your energies to come forward today. And thank you to the audience for your attendance, and in advance for your courtesy to our candidates. So candidates, once the question is read, your clock begins. You will see a yellow card at 30 seconds and a red card when your time has expired, as stated before you there. We are known here in Kent for being on time, so I will gently remind you when your time has expired, and in order to ask as many questions as possible. So with that, we will start with opening comments. Don Bennett, begin.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Can you all hear me? Can everyone hear me? Thank you so much. So first, I'd like to start out with saying flat out, I am not for defunding the police. Folks who think that I am for that, I am not. My sister is a retired police officer. I need everyone to know that, that I am not for that. I need to let everyone know that I'm running for mayor to make Kent a stronger Kent through policing, through our parks and our infrastructure. I am the Executive Director of African American Leadership Forum, and I've been that for almost 25 years. And we do work in the arena of health and wellness, education, child wellness, criminal justice, and economic development. I want you to know that those are the 5 issues that hit African American communities frequently, all the time, for years. Education is where we've spent most of our time, and I've been in Olympia advocating for the correct dollars to put upon everybody in education by being the vice president of Washington's Paramount Duty. I am also the co-founder of Multicultural Education Rights Alliance, because as I did my work with African American Leadership Forum, folks from the ELL community asked me to help them, and I showed up in rooms. I showed up in classrooms talking about IEPs, the unfairness of IEPs, the unfairness of IEPs on communities that don't look like everyone else. I am a staunch advocate for everyone. I am a lifelong supervisor. I've worked for the City of Seattle as a supervisor from the beginning of my career. And as a supervisor, I learned to lead. I feel like I've been leading everyone. So my experience is vast, my education is good, and I'm from Mercer Island, Washington, and I've been here for almost 25 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Mayor Ralph.
All right, thank you, Carmen. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dana Ralph, and for 4 generations, my family has wanted Kent to be a place that we can all be proud of. Each generation of my family has lived here, has had unique challenges that have shaped our city and made it what it is today. If you think about the industrialization of our valley, the droughts and depletion of crops, all of those things have changed and made Kent, the growing technology base, the city that it is. But they were challenges, and our generation is no different. Think about what we've been through: recessions, unprecedented development and growth, a racial awakening last summer, and don't forget about the global pandemic. Every hour that I have been awake for those past 4 years, I've thought about how I could make the impact of these challenges a little bit less for you and your families. As mayor, I have fought hard to bring jobs to Kent, to improve our roads, to reduce congestion, save you time so you can be home with your family, improve our parks and open spaces, and I've led the fight to protect your families, your jobs, and your businesses during COVID. We haven't fixed every problem. We probably haven't even fixed half of them. But you know what? We've fixed a lot. And we've done that because we've done that together. We've brought millions of dollars of investment to our city, expanded housing options, improved transit, added more parks and family activities, and we've protected small businesses. We've made progress, but we have many more things to do. Today, you're going to hear from two candidates running to lead one of the largest cities in the state of Washington. I am the candidate that has the experience, a track record of accomplishment, and the knowledge and relationships to get things done. When we've worked together as a community, there isn't much that we haven't been able to accomplish, but the work isn't over yet. We still have more to do, and together we can move Kent forward.
Thank you, Mayoral. So with those introductions, can you clarify what are the top 3 priorities of your administration? What would be the top three priorities of your administration?
Public safety, everyone deserves to feel safe in their community. Economic development, that brings opportunity for businesses, it brings opportunity for employment, and then our parks and human services. Everyone needs a place to recreate, relax, and spend time with their family.
Thank you. Dawn, what would be the top 3 priorities of your administration?
So the top 3 for my administration will be first our senior citizen community. They were here when I got here. They are the voters here. They are the ones right now who run the community here in Kent, and I want to respect that. The second priority will be the business environment. Our small businesses with COVID hitting have fallen down around us, and I would like to bring that back. And education, of course, because I am an education advocate.
Okay. And how would you generate the funding for those priorities?
You know, I think we need to readjust our budget when it comes to policing. I think we need to reallocate some of those dollars. I think we should spread them around a little bit. I think HSD can do a lot more for this city so that we don't have a safety problem in this city. I think Human Services Department is where we can help those who are forging some of the problems that we're having in this city. And if we fund that and help those who are mentally ill, help those who are struggling, help those from the ELL community, I think we will have a better way to go when it comes to running businesses here.
Thank you. Mayor Ralph, how would you generate the funding for your proposed administration?
For the infrastructure development, we've been very, very successful on grants as well as our park system. If you think about West Hill, West Fenwick Park up there, that was largely grant funded and one of the nicest parks in all of King County, probably in the state of Washington. Public safety, we have done creative things like when I was first elected, we knew we needed to implement body cameras. It was something that was very important to me. So we created a voluntary payment program. It's called our red light camera program system. So if you want to volunteer to help us fund body cameras, please continue to run those red lights. That's where the funding is coming from. I really do think it's about being creative and looking for opportunities and resources both in our community and outside the community.
And that was our introductions. I believe I've funded some of the body cameras.
Thank you.
And they just show up in the mail.
Right.
Non-tax deductible. So on to question 1. Kent is an economic engine in the Puget Sound region, and we are a business community here. So as we emerge from the global pandemic, what are your strategies and recommendations to attract and retain business? How will you make it business friendly here in Kent? This starts with Mayor Ralph.
All right, thank you. Kent is an economic engine, and we have long since had that presence in our region. We are emerging from the pandemic, but through the pandemic, we didn't stop working. We've implemented plans, things like Rally the Valley, that makes the valley more attractive to businesses by making it also more people-friendly. We have worked through the pandemic directly with the governor's office in bringing people back to work. We advocated, along with the South County mayors, to bring back construction so that we know, because we know construction is what drives our economy, making sure that we're making those investments. We continue to be a place, investing in our infrastructure also helps business. Look at the completion of 224th and 228th, providing our warehouses with direct access. We've been advocating for the 509 project, continuing to set up an atmosphere where businesses feel welcome, building relationships with the chamber, building relationships directly with our largest employers and our smallest businesses, making sure that they were able to sustain and thrive through the pandemic. We distributed well over $2 million to our smallest businesses in Kent to make sure that as we come out of the pandemic, things are able to reopen. We worked with our council on things like the DoorDash tax. I heard from a local business owner that was making it really difficult for them when we were doing delivery. So we heard that need, and we passed the ordinance that capped that fee. So a variety of ways that we have not only worked through the pandemic, but will continue.
Thank you. Dawn.
Can you say it again?
I sure can. As we emerge from the global pandemic, what are your strategies and recommendations to attract and retain business? How will you make this a business-friendly city?
So we all know that small business is the force that runs a city. So I would reinvest in our small businesses. It would be a bigger investment than just $2 million. It would be a bigger investment than just the COVID dollars. I would also invest into our BIPOC community because we have one here. We're a majority BIPOC, and that cannot be ignored. If we start to engage the BIPOC community, BIPOC businesses into our big goals here in the city of Kent, then we have another community that can forge our growth, and something that we can be proud of, and something that we don't have to fight about. Right now, we're all fighting over little bits of carrots, the carrot that's dangling. My thought is, if you engage everyone in business, small business, big business, investment, real, true investment, then our city can grow and we can thrive and we can be the example for the whole nation. We can be the example for the state of Washington.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Ralph, is there anything you want to respond to that?
Absolutely. We have been investing in our small businesses and BIPOC-owned businesses for quite some time here in the city of Kent. That's not anything new. During the distribution of that $2 million in CARES funding, we worked with community-based organizations like World Relief to reach businesses that don't generally have access to capital. We have also proposed with our American Rescue Plan funding money, Community Navigator, that will help those small businesses, particularly our immigrant and refugee businesses, access money in a way that they have not been able to by setting up a banking fund or a revolving loan fund. So a lot of work that's being done to make investments in our small businesses with a strong focus on our BIPOC-owned businesses.
Thank you. Dawn, do you have any response to that?
I do. That's new. And so I've been here for 25 years, and my hope was that there was going to be a bigger investment. I'm always going somewhere to find out where I and other communities belong. When I left Mercer Island, I went to Seattle, where Seattle was wishing to be Mercer Island. I then come to Kent, where Kent wishes to be Seattle. And in Seattle, there was a major push out. I don't want to be pushed out. I don't want BIPOC communities to be pushed out like what happened in Seattle. As a worker in Seattle, I was able to see big growth, huge growth in Seattle, but then there was also a huge push out. I don't want to see that in Kent, and I really wish that we could have earlier done an investment in the BIPOC community.
So just moderator's discretion here. So can you clarify the statement of Kent wanted to be Seattle?
So when I left Mercer Island, there was a push to ensure that Seattle had bigger growth, right? More rich folks. When I got to Kent, it seemed like there is a push to have bigger growth, to have more big business, more millionaires investing. And if that's going to be the thing, millionaires, billionaires, they should also invest in those that don't have very much too.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm going to let Mayor Ralph respond.
Kent has a long history of being an affordable community. We are focused on growing our population in all realms of income. So there needs to be high-end housing, which in turn opens up that middle-income housing and low-income housing. There needs to be investment on all scales of the spectrum. I can honestly say to you, I have never, ever one time heard a Kent resident tell me they want to be Seattle.
Thank you. So the Kent City Council has stated that although the fiscal cliff is no longer a worry, we continue to have a structural imbalance where expenses outweigh our revenues. So what are your thoughts on addressing the imbalance? And I will start with you, Dawn.
The imbalance, say that again?
So we were at a fiscal cliff at one point due to structural imbalance where revenues were not increasing as quickly as expenses. And so that continues to be a concern of the council. What are your thoughts on addressing the imbalance?
So if we have affordable housing, we have more people here. If we have more people here, we have more spending. If we have more spending, that will even up the imbalance. Is that what you're talking about? So I'm really for affordable housing. I'm really for more people being able to afford where they live and then have some actual dollars to put into our economy. If you things are being overpriced right now. Folks are in apartments that I've been on these doors knocking, and the apartments, their rent is going up by $200, $300, $500. If you take all that money, then we cannot put that money back into the economy in Kent. Once we get that, as mayor, I want to put a cap on that. Once we cap that out and have folks have dollars that they can put back into the economy, then we can be a more thriving Kent. I don't know how rent has got out of hand here. I've usually been in a house. I had an apartment, and the rent went up astronomically. I had to leave, go buy a house. I mean, we need affordable housing so we can have people investing in our economy.
Thank you. Ms. Ralph, Mayor, sorry. Don't know what to call you anymore.
Okay. It's okay. So the question is regarding the structural imbalance. And to give a little bit of background, the structural imbalance was created when we, as voters in the state of Washington, put a cap on the increase in property taxes. We are only, as a city, allowed to increase property taxes 1% per year. And that's about 26% of our revenue in the city of Kent. If you think about inflation, it goes up 2 and 3%. So the cost of goods, the cost of wages, cost of services all go up at a significantly higher rate than the revenue stream goes up. In June, we saw a CPIW of over 6%. That is the highest we have seen since 2008, and it's actually a little bit higher. So that structural imbalance is a very real thing. The way that we address that is continued investment in economic development and bringing business to Kent, so we're creating an economy. That is absolutely true. But we also need to make sure that we're spending responsibly, and we will continue to have what we call status quo budgets. It means not a lot of new programs because we can't afford necessarily the programs that we've got. Until we figure out a mechanism for cities' revenue to keep pace with inflation, that imbalance will exist. And it's not just something that's in the city of Kent. It's all of our cities are facing this issue. When your revenues do not keep up with your expenses through something completely out of the city's control, it's not extra spending, it's just the reality of how money works. The structural imbalance will continue to be there. But we've got tools that we have been putting in place to help us maintain.
Thank you. Don, did you want to expand?
I didn't.
No, okay. So in 2018, the Kent City Council raised the B&O tax to balance the proposed budget that included 10 years of said tax increases. This revenue was to offset the loss of income from the state in streamlined sales tax mitigation that sunset in 2017. In 2021, the legislature approved to restore the streamlined sales tax funds. So here's the question. And I'll start with you, Mayor Ralph. Kent's B&O warehouse square footage tax has doubled since inception in 2013, with the use of the maximum allowable level by the state in many categories. Would you anticipate any reprieve for business owners? What can you encourage business owners with?
So that is a hard question, and I'm going to be honest. I don't see us having the ability to roll that back. The B&O tax was the one and only option the city had after the state legislature changed the way that sales tax is sourced. If you think about our Kent Valley, it's all warehouses. And before the invention of streamlined sales tax, those warehouses brought revenue into the city. They cost us money. Think about the damage that those large trucks cause coming in and out of the city, all of those kinds of things, but they were a strong revenue source. The legislature changed that. They took the sales tax and it now goes to the destination instead of the origin. In today's dollars, my guess would be we're losing about $20 million in revenue. So we were able to be successful for a short term with the legislature last year to continue that, what they called mitigation, but it's about $3 million. And it ends in several years. So it does not fill the gap. And the way that our tax structure is in the state of Washington, other than a B&O tax, which is an extremely unfair tax, as a business owner, I will tell you, it's the hardest check that I write. There's no question about that. The reality is we don't have any other tools, and with the change in sales tax sourcing, that $20 million that we would be receiving in today's money would be in place of the B&O.
Thank you. Dawn.
I would agree with the mayor. That is a really hard question. And so what I would do is I would go to the community. Again, when I'm knocking on these doors, I'm running into everyone. I ran into a business owner who told me that the B&O tax is killing him, killing his business. And what I told him is that we're taxed up the yang here in Kent. And so what we would need to do is have a neighborhood council. I would bring that back so that I could talk to business owners about some solutions about our tax structure here in the city of Kent. As a business owner himself, he said he would be the first one to sign up on that neighborhood council because information has to come back and forth from everyone, not just a chosen few.
Well, being a moderator, we got you to agree, so Kent's the place to be. So right now, they're collecting questions. If you've written them out, please raise your hand. I know they've picked up a few so that they can see you.
Carmen, can I have a chance at rebuttal on that one?
Yes, I just want to make sure.
Okay,
go ahead.
Thank you. So I also want to clarify the change in the B&O tax. We set a floor or ceiling, a threshold. You do not have to pay B&O tax in the city of Kent if your business makes $250,000 or below. We also set a cap. So think Bowen Scar Ford. They sell a $70,000 vehicle. They make $1,000. We can't tax them on all of that revenue. That's just simply not fair. So we were very thoughtful in the implementation of that to make sure we were protecting our small businesses. And the portion of B&O tax that comes to the city of Kent is extremely small compared to the state. Also in the neighborhood council program, that is something we have in existence. We have over 50 active neighborhood councils currently existing. And we also have a very close partnership with the Chamber and the Kent Downtown Partnership on business meetings and interactions. So lots of opportunity to exchange ideas.
Okay. Don, do you want to expand or rebuttal? Thank you. Okay, question number 3.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Chamber consistently hears about the depolicing of property crimes. In August 2021, the Chamber hosted a safety summit where we heard from our businesses the level of frustration with safety concerns, not just in downtown Market, but throughout the city. As mayor, what do you see as your role in strengthening public safety, and what do you plan to do about it? And I will begin with Dawn.
So again, I've been out talking to the community for, 6 months now? Not only did we knock on doors, my team also went to businesses and had conversations with businesses. As we go into businesses, those businesses are boarded up. They're losing customers. They're losing money. There's no help for them. Sometimes they say they'll call the police to get some sort of solution. They will not come. When they come an hour later. All of that has a lot to do with how they do commerce, how they earn their money. And they've been affected first by COVID and second by public safety. The homeless are coming into their buildings, and how we're going to fix that. One, I would use the ARPA dollars to ensure that we do some services to the homelessness. I don't think there was any sort of priority to the homeless, but we have to do something because they are walking into buildings. They're going into restaurants. They're going into small businesses. They're forming places where they should not be, and that affects businesses. I talked to about 10 business owners who are very frustrated. One that wanted to just straight out leave. I asked them, please don't. We need them.
Thank you. Mayor Ralph.
All right. So one of the things that we have been doing for quite some time actively as a group in South County is advocating with our prosecutor to prosecute crime. Our officers can do the work. They can make arrests for property crimes, and if people are not being held accountable at the level of the court that our state has said that they should be held accountable at, we don't have the ability to do anything different. We are, and then we've seen a decrease in our jail population through both philosophy and policy, and then as a result of COVID. So I will say 100% we have seen an increase in property crimes. We are, as a police department, responding with the resources that we have. We are continuing to connect our homeless population to services. The ARPA money, there is money in there that is going towards homeless outreach and advocacy. City of Kent took a really hard tax vote. Either King County was going to take the tax money or it was going to come to Kent, and so we chose through the 1590 legislation to bring those dollars to Kent and keep them in Kent. Public safety continues to be a top priority for me. I have requested the council unfreeze 5 positions at our police department in this budget. Have been making investments ever since I have been working in city government in our police department, and will continue to help provide them with the tools to advocate for our small businesses, as well as our homeless population that is in need of mental health and substance abuse treatment. It's got to be it's an and conversation, not an or conversation, and we'll continue to work on all fronts.
Thank you. Don, would you like to have a comment to follow up?
I do. I would love to comment on the amount of police that we have. I don't think we need 5 more police positions. I believe that we need to do policing differently in this town. When I was working as a gang specialist, which I don't like to call it gangs, but it was a late night specialist, I would get home around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and there were like 4 or 5 police officers following me every weekend. And so I felt that was wasteful. And if we continue to do that, 4 or 5, 6 police officers on a stop, I think we can do policing differently and have a better resourced police department where folks are not stopping folks 5 or 6 police officers at a time. It's just a waste. So we have to stop the waste. I do not like political waste at all, and it seems like we're doing some of that, and we need to reimagine how we're going to do the policing.
Thank you. Mayoral, your rebuttal?
So our police department is significantly understaffed and underfunded for a city our size. The numbers of our officers has not kept pace with the growth of our population. We are understaffed by probably 30 officers. Up until the shift change that we had to do an emergency enactment of to go to 12-hour shifts, there were shifts where in the entire 34 square miles of Kent, we had 6 or 7, 8 officers. So their only ability is to respond to violent crime. Those community policing activities are not able to occur with the amount of staffing that we have. So I will continue to advocate for more police so that we can have the community policing that we need. We have the officers, the detectives to respond to violent crime and do those investigations. It's an extremely important thing. And if you look at our numbers, like I said, we're extremely understaffed when it comes to policing. So have made some emergency adjustments, and we now have 12 to 15 hour officers on shift at any given time. But again, that is for 34 square miles of a city. So that's not enough.
Yeah. Well, both of you mentioned the American Rescue Plan funding, and there is approximately $28 million that's allocated to come to Kent, in my understanding. What are your priorities for the utilization of that funding? And please be as specific as possible. And I believe I begin with Mayor Ralph.
All right, thank you. I worked with an ad hoc committee of our city council to develop priorities for the ARPA funding. So that money will come to us over the course of several years. And the council has allocated into what we're calling buckets of funding. The first is about $10 million in revenue loss. So restocking those funds where we've seen a decline in revenue. And then they allotted money to economic and community development, race and equity, human services, and infrastructure. So some of the projects that we are proposing, and again, this is not my final decision, it's the city council's final decision, but the things that I proposed to them, and we're working through our investment in a community navigator to help our small businesses, especially our immigrant and refugee businesses, again, access that funding. We set up that revolving loan fund, so there's access to capital, making investments in infrastructure, a couple of our gateways, variety of projects that are being done to make sure that we're using that money not as a one-time Band-Aid, but to invest in our community going forward.
Thank you. Dawn, what are your priorities in utilization of that funding?
So that money was spent so we can use it at our discretion. And so I believe that the quicker we can get all members of our community back to being financially healthy, the quicker the businesses will bounce back as well. So my priority would be investing back into the small businesses, back into business, so we can get folks working, so we can get folks. There are some programs getting started about getting our homeless population back to work. So I would have some sort of, through HSD, some sort of program so we can get our homeless back to work and invest in small businesses so we can get that engine back started and rejuvenate Kent.
Thank you. Mayor Ralph, would you like to expand on that?
Sure. So the money has not been spent. We don't even have it all yet. It hasn't come into the city. And there are guardrails. There's guidance on that money and how it can be spent. We are working within that guidance, and the council is having those discussions. And to Ms. Bennett's point, we are using it to invest in our small businesses. That's that revolving loan fund, the community navigator, a technical assistant. So if you're coming in and needing tenant improvements, we've got somebody to help with architecture and design and permitting, all of those kinds of things. So absolutely reinvesting this in our communities so we've got a solid foundation to move ourselves forward.
Ms. Bennett, would you like to respond? So
I agree.
in that, I'm doing good here, so agreeing points. Earning my pay today. Both of you mentioned access to capital. As a commercial banker, it's not just access to capital, but technical services as well. I'm gonna start with you, Ms. Bennett. In your plan, do you see where you can expand upon that to help those small businesses grow? Access to technical services.
As a business owner myself, I have two small organizations, a nonprofit and a contract business. I think that would highly be useful, yes. I'm all about helping others. I'm all about helping other businesses. And so as I am successful, those that are coming after me will be successful also. It's really important that banks get on board when it comes to investment of small businesses and organizations. It's really important that we don't just give grants. We have to invest. Sometimes those grants run out and folks only have 5 years to get done what they're trying to get done. That money goes away. There's no investors in line to help with any of the work that we're doing. And so absolutely yes.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Ralph.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Not exactly, because I said it from the top of my head.
That's okay. I think I got it. I think it's about investment in other services.
Moderator's discretion has been disclosed.
I love it.
It was
I love
along
it.
the lines of technical assistance, providing technical assistance.
So the city has invested and will continue to invest in a partnership with the Small Business Development Center through Green River and Highline Colleges that help new businesses, existing businesses that are looking to grow, develop business plans, find places where there's capital, get that technical assistance. In my presentation to council, recommendations on the ARPA funding, again, providing that technical assistance, whether it be around tenant improvements, applying for loans, architecture, that kind of thing. We've also requested money for a community navigator that will work hand in hand with those small businesses as they work through the process. And then again, want to talk about that revolving loan fund. There's a lot of our small businesses that don't have access to traditional capital through a bank, making sure that they have an ability to take out those small loans and invest in the community. So we are doing a lot of work in this arena and will continue to do that.
Okay, thank you. So as Todd Miner makes his way to the podium for those questions, he is the co-owner, he's the co-chair of the Government Affairs Committee and the owner of Nana's Southern Restaurant to answer those questions. All right, ask those questions.
All right. Well, first of all, let's give it up for our terrific moderator. And we all know how important marketing is as business owners, so let's be very clear. It's Nana's Southern Kitchen. Nana's Southern Kitchen. I'll make the whole audience say it in a sec. All right. So I have about 5 questions here. Somebody has really good handwriting, but let's first start with, I'm not sure, we'll go with Ms. Bennett. Is there a plan to increase diversification of minorities amongst the police department?
Yes. We can't just keep having that one black police officer in pictures. We have to have a good amount of diversity amongst our ranks. We have to have folks that speak the language. You know, when I was a late night specialist, we had 24 different centers that we were in because we were all over the neighborhoods trying to figure out which community is trying to start up gangs in the name of their cultural community. That was very helpful for, Seattle had some multicultural police officers that they put with us, and some of them spoke the language. That worked. I have worked side by side with police officers for about 20 years, doing that work in that way where police officers knew the community and then did not engage until the community members asked them to.
Thank you so much. Mayor Ralph.
Thank you. So I want to start with a clarification. Kent does not just have one black officer. That is not a factual statement. And it is something we've been focused on, diversification of our police department, for quite some time. Our recruiting and hiring division makes that a priority. We have a race and equity advisory board that works with the chief of police, and we are consistently asking community, if you know someone that is looking to get into law enforcement, please have them apply. We cannot hire people that are not applying to the department. It's a goal, it's a focus, and our numbers have been improving. We've got the community law enforcement immersion program, so our officers are spending time before they go into the academy working with our local nonprofits. Officer Kumar, who just completed his round with World Relief. Think about what World Relief is doing right now, and that's helping our new residents coming from Afghanistan. He was there picking them up at the airport, setting them up in their apartment, connecting them to services, taking them to appointments. This is the way that our officers become invested in our community, by knowing them as people, human to human, not officer to resident. We have a language incentive, so absolutely incentivizing officers that speak different languages. We have many languages that are spoken in our police department. So we are doing all kinds of work and have been doing the work around not only diversifying what our officers look like, but their experience, where they come from, how they connect with people, and providing them with the tools to be a part of our community.
Thank you so much, Mayor Ralph. Ms. Bennett, how do you plan on working with surrounding cities, specifically in South King County?
Thank you for asking that question. I've been answering this the same way every time it's asked. And it's all about our homeless community. So our homeless community, of course, the unhoused, they're trying to be home, right? They're trying to be in the city where they were raised. But they also go where the help is. And so if they're moving across city lines from city to city, it's really important that we have things that help them that are aligned from city to city, the same thing over and over. So we need to partner with King County, have the same help for the unhoused and the homeless from city to city, so they're not coming to one city and getting more from one city to the other city, which is how all the homeless ended up in the city of Seattle, because they had more to offer. So if we are aligned with Renton, aligned with Federal Way, aligned with neighboring cities with some of the things that we're going to offer to help them, then they'll be more comfortable staying right where they are, getting services that they need, and then growing and moving from there.
Thank you. Mayor Ralph, how do you plan on working with surrounding cities, specifically in South King County?
All right. That is a question that I love. Since I have been mayor, I have been, and even as a council member, heavily involved in the region, specifically in South King County. In 2020, I was the president of the Sound Cities Association, which is the group of 38 cities outside of Seattle that works together and advocates on behalf of cities. I serve on multiple regional committees, making sure that Kent has a seat at the table. But the most important part of that work is that if I can do something that helps Auburn that doesn't harm Kent, then I'm all there, I'm in. And it's because we have relationships. The South County mayors meet on a very regular basis. We have conversations about what the needs are in each one of our cities. How can we help? We've advocated on things like, I talked about prosecution with our King County prosecutor. We're advocating collectively on homelessness. South King County Housing and Homelessness Partnership, I'm the vice chair of that group. There's many things in place where we work together, but it's at the end of the day about relationships and taking the time to develop them. I need to know and do know my fellow mayors, city council members, because when I need help, I need to be able to say, hey, there's all these things we've done together. Can you step up? Just like Kent will step up for our other cities. So it's about relationships, honestly.
Thank you so much, Mayor Ralph. I'm going to come back to you with this one. Kent has many unique neighborhoods. Both of you have lived here for a good period of time. What neighborhoods have you lived in, and where do you live now?
All right, thank you. So I'm looking out this window and I can see the house that I grew up in from right here. So right there on Alvord, off of James Street, is the house that I grew up in. Actually, it was the house that my grandparents built. Made it about 10 blocks up the hill, so just up there by East Hill Elementary. And I've lived there with my husband and my family for now 25 years.
All right, Ms. Bennett?
For 20 years, I lived right up the hill, right up 240th and James, off of 112th. Now I believe I've moved to, West Hill? I'm a renter now. I rent out the home that I own, and so I just moved to West Hill.
Okay. Coming back to you, Ms. Bennett, what is your plan for small minority companies that want to do business in Kent? And this is one, as particularly important to me, is navigating the city permit office.
So I think it seems like our city permit office needs to be bigger. I continue to run into businesses that keep telling me that they could not get a permit, and there's a bottleneck or something that's happening, and I won't know until I get in there. Again, I want to bring back our neighborhood council, so when those problems come up, there's a representative from the business community that can tell me what problems are coming up so we can nip it in the bud. But the permit situation has been really hard for folks, and I've heard them. I've been at businesses and they've told me about their permit problem, and I've heard them, and I can't do anything until I'm there, until I get that council going where information is flowing from community members, business members, to our office of the mayor or city council.
Thank
So
you.
an open communication is what I'm trying to have.
Thank you, Mayor Ralph.
Okay, so I will tell you, we have had challenges in our permitting system. There is no question about that. That is why we have made a multi-million-dollar investment in updating our software and systems. Kiva, which we have had for years, was far out of date and a broken system. We were on path to have that implemented. COVID hit, and when COVID hit, we had to move everyone out of our, they were working from home.
Yeah.
So we had to put together sort of a band-aided system that would allow for the digital submission of permits. What I am pleased to say now is that we are this month going to be going live with our new permitting system, Amanda, fully automatic, so you can submit your plans and permit requests from the comfort of your couch or your office. At the same time, we are adding positions in our permitting center and permitting review. It's something that is proposed in this budget and that we have done through the last couple of years. So all of the things are in place to address that permitting backlog and bring the technology and investment that we need to help our businesses of all sizes navigate through the permit system.
Thank you. Am I running out of time?
No.
Okay. All right,
I got your last question.
Okay. All right. Give it up for a moderator,
Yeah.
She's keeping me honest. Coming back to Mayor Ralph, how are you going to fight food insecurity in Kent, and why is that not part of your top priorities?
Food insecurity is a problem that we've got all around the community, and it is something that we are working with our nonprofits and community organizations on a regular basis. In fact, yesterday or the day before, the mayor of Auburn, Nancy Backus, who I'm seeing in the audience here, and I worked with Grocery Outlet, our local grocery store in both Kent and in Auburn, and had a challenge with our police and firefighters to raise money and food for our local food bank. So we continue to partner with our food bank. We do provide funding to our food bank as a part of the city, and we also work with our nonprofits. If you think back during COVID, when we had the USDA boxes in, our service clubs and community nonprofits came together and worked around the clock to make sure that food was a part and available to our community. Right here at this location, we had containers in the back, forklifts, delivery, and distribution out of here with Rotary and Kiwanis and our Kent community partners. It is something that the city is working on every day and will continue to work on.
Ms. Bennett?
Oh, I would agree. There's food insecurity everywhere. I think that I would agree, too, that we work with the local nonprofits to ensure that everyone is working together to ensure that we're feeding our community. If there is a goal not to work with some nonprofits and work with other nonprofits, which I have run into that before, there were some folks that would not work with my nonprofit but work with other nonprofits, then we are creating a space where some folks are not getting services, where they can get services from a certain nonprofit that they will go to, where they're not comfortable with going to other nonprofits. So I would ensure that I am hitting all the nonprofits in the city of Kent to ensure that everyone is feeding everyone.
Thank you. And last question, and we will go back to Mayor Ralph, is what will you do to bring new businesses to Kent?
It's about ensuring multiple things that we've got going on. So one of them is ensuring that we have a workforce, a skilled and accessible workforce. So we're working with our schools, working with the colleges to make sure that we are creating programs to train our youth in the skills that are necessary. It means partnerships with our trades for apprenticeship utilization. That's something that we passed about 4 years ago here in the city of Kent. It's investment in infrastructure. So I talked about the 228th and 224th bridge. It means that our freight, our warehouses, those trucks don't have to sit in traffic because the trains are there. It's finding ways to invest in our permitting systems, infrastructure, and resources, making sure that jobs are available to continue to make Kent a friendly city for business.
Thank you. And Ms. Bennett.
I'd put a cap on rent. Folks need money in their pockets to spend at the businesses that we're trying to attract. If they don't have any money, they can't go to the businesses. And so my first goal would be to put a cap on rent, because the money that folks want to spend in businesses, they have to spend it in rent. Some folks are telling me that they don't have any more money. They're working 2 and 3 jobs just to hit rent. So if you're just trying to pay rent, you cannot go to the businesses, and some of that money that you have left over cannot go into the businesses. So attracting businesses mean that we have a community here that can purchase from the businesses. And so if rent has chewed that all up, we have to do a better job of ensuring that our citizens keep money in their pocket and have some of that money to invest back into the community, invest back into small businesses. As that happens, the businesses will come here.
Well, thank you so much. Carmen?
Nice job. Thank you. Thank you, Todd Miner from Nana's Southern Restaurant. Kitchen.
I got your back.
Please edit that part out for future reference. So thank you. So each candidate had this question posed to them before. What question would you like to ask your opponent? And we begin with Dawn Bennett. I believe you have the podium.
Where'd my signs go? Oh, it's like, I'm just kidding. My question would be this. If I were mayor, would you support me in return?
I would yes, I believe in working with whoever is in that role. That would not support you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Mayor Ralph, what is your question for Ms. Bennett?
I want to go back to a statement that you made about community and where you live. So you indicated that you think you live on the West Hill. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just moved, and so I moved. I think I'm on the West Hill. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just moved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So starting with Mayor Ralph, should all city Kent employees and police be vaccinated?
I will tell you, the City of Kent does not have a vaccine mandate. I strongly believe in vaccinations, but I also strongly believe in the right to choose whether you're vaccinated, and we are not in a position like some of our neighboring cities where we can lose 345 police officers.
Thank you. Ms. Bennett,
Say the question again.
should all City of Kent employees and police be vaccinated?
In time, yes.
Okay. The next question. Oh, I need my glasses. All right, I was doing so well there for a moment. Thank you. I put them away.
Readers.
Yeah, the readers. Oh, perfect. Thank you for, so it says, question for Don Bennett. Thank you for sharing your background and work experience in Mercer Island and Seattle. As you run for mayor of this community, can you tell us about your familiarity and experience in city government, and specifically what City of Kent committees, commissions, and activities you have been involved in or related to issues in the city?
So most of my work has been in education. So as I said, I am the vice president of Washington's Paramount Duty. That has to do with Kent. That has to do with getting funding in education for the state of Washington, which includes Kent. I have not been on a lot of boards in Kent, but I've been on boards throughout the state of Washington. One of the boards that I was on is I was on a board for a food bank. I just quit that board to run for mayor. I'm also the chair of my own African American Leadership Forum, and I am to tell you that when you dip into doing some of this work with basically African Americans and those who are in need of education, you tend to get spread out a lot. And so your time cannot be spent on boards, because as you engage with some of these problems, it's like you just get caught up in so much of the work fixing things that have not been fixed. So I would have loved to be on other boards. I've also always worked on campaigns. I was a campaign volunteer for Kaufman, Senator Kaufman.
Claudia Kaufman?
Claudia Kaufman, and I worked for an education advocacy program. That's about it.
Thank you for that. So we're going to move into some speed questions. In front of you, you have three folders: a green for agree or in favor with, a red for you disagree or not in favor with, and a brown for neutral, you have not formed an opinion. After we go through the speed questions, just hold up the cards, we ask them, but then you'll have 90 seconds to expand or respond on those.
Okay.
Okay? So a cap. So the first one is a cap on school impact fees on multifamily developments for school district funding. Do you agree, disagree, or have not formed an opinion? Thank you. Property tax levy lid lift to fund the police department. Agree, disagree, or have not formed an opinion? Thank you. Increase the city's B&O tax. I'm gonna close my eyes. Thank you. Add or increase a head tax. Thank you. Increase property taxes more than 1%. Thank you. Add or increase impact fees.
Can you be more specific?
Yeah.
No, that's all the question asked for. Okay. You guys are making me work now. Okay. Add or increase permit fees above actual city cost. Thank you. Add a city income tax. Increase the real estate excise tax. Thank you. Vaccination proof or negative COVID tests for restaurants, bars, and events.
So where's the one that says in time?
Okay. In time. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
I work with everyone.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Partnership with South King County Housing and Homeless Partnership. Thank you. I will begin with Mayor Ralph for 90 seconds to expand on your responses.
Oh, that was a very long list. So
Yeah.
I'll start backwards because I can remember. I'm already part of the South King County Housing and Homeless Partnership. I'm actually vice chair of that. I'm not supportive of a head tax. We unfortunately and will have a B&O tax, and there's questions about whether that's possible or not. Oh, there's
Okay, there's a cap on school impact fees, property taxes, permit fees, city income tax, real estate excise tax.
All right, the city is allowed to recapture its costs for permit fees, so that's sort of why I'm not in agreement there. Property tax, I said yes to that, and really what I would like it to see is it to be in relationship to inflation. That would help us with that structural imbalance. If property taxes go up by 2% and inflation is 2%, it keeps us on course. So that's behind that answer.
Okay, thank you. Don, I'll run down the various numbers.
Please.
Well, you made me work hard, so now, you know. So it was a cap on school impact fees, property tax levy lid lift to fund police, increase in B&O, increase in property taxes, head tax, impact fees, permit fees, city income tax, real estate excise tax, and then there's the vaccination requirement, overtime, and then the partnership with the King County Housing and Homeless Partnership.
I think the King County Housing and Homeless Partnership, I think, yes, we have to work on that. The B&O tax, again, when I talk to that business owner, we have to have a conversation about how we tax businesses and how that's working out or not working out for companies. The school tax, what is that? Which one?
That's a cap on school impact fees from
Yes, I think there should be a cap on income.
school impact.
Yes, I think there should be a cap on that.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with all things.
Thank you. As business people, we care about the taxes that we're going to be assessed and
Of
how it
course.
impacts our bottom line. As a banker, I too care about how it impacts my bottom line
Yes.
on that side. So there's been a lot of information passed back and forth today, and our goal here at the Chamber is to make sure that our business community is aware of our candidates and aware of their positions to be supportive, and we encourage you to vote. So as we sit here, we're going to wrap up with our closing statements. They each have, oh, I'm sorry, do we have another question coming?
Are there any more? Last call for questions.
Last call. You are an interactive group. Thank you. And I'm going to borrow those glasses again.
Ah.
You could bill me.
No.
No impact fees. Okay. This one starts with the mayor. Why did racial awareness just come about last summer, as people of color have been in Kent for many years?
So it did not just come about last summer. The city of Kent has been working for many, many years to make sure that equity is a part of the way we go about our business, how we support our community. Kent is the 8th most diverse city in the nation, and it is something that we have taken very seriously for quite some time, implementing a multitude of programs. My reference in my opening statement was to the events of last summer.
Okay, thank you. All right, so as we wrap up with our closing comments, each candidate has 2 minutes, and we will begin with Ms. Bennett.
Thank you. So first I want to, I don't know if I did this in the beginning, but I want to honor those, because this is October and this is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I want to also say thank you to all of you all who have come to listen to what I have to say about things. There's not a lot of folks that know who I am, and I'm going to say, like, when folks ask me about what boards have I been on, I'm going to tell you I have been buried in doing multicultural work and work on behalf of Blackness. And as that work happens, you are buried in some of the issues that come around when you start that work. You get buried, and what you're looking for is some reprieve. What you're looking for is some reprieve from our leadership. It doesn't come. And so you're spread thin. I would like to be the mayor of Kent because we are the #1 BIPOC city in the state of Washington, and that work needs to be done. It cannot be ignored anymore, the diversity of this city. I want to bring white folks together with the BIPOC community to work together to make us a stronger city, and I want to celebrate that side by side with folks that don't look like us. I've been doing it all my life. I was taught to do that, which is why I ended up on Mercer Island. I was taught to be a businesswoman, to learn commerce, to be an earner. And folks are expecting our communities to do the same. We can do the same if there's leadership that embraces that and leads that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Ralph, your closing comments.
Want to start by thanking Carmen and Todd, Zenobia, and all of the Chamber for hosting this event. It's extremely important that our businesses and residents understand who it is that's running to represent you. So thank you all for taking the time. You've heard my opponent and I, and there are some clear differences in how we see things, view things, and would tackle this job of being mayor. People have always said that campaigning is a part of the political business, and I want to be clear, this isn't a business to me, it's personal. It's personal because I live here. It's personal because I raised my children here. 26 years ago, I started a business in the city of Kent. I've spent nearly 2 decades volunteering in this community. Everything from PTA to Kiwanis, serving on the Land Use and Planning Board, Arts Commission, City Council. I have invested my time 100% in the city of Kent, doing service alongside of many of you that are in this room. Kent is my forever home. Some people run for office for opportunity, and I ran for office because I felt like I had to. I'm not a professional politician. I never had any aspirations of doing this. It was an opportunity to take care of the community that took care of me. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I know that that's one of those things that people ask. This is a nonpartisan race, and I am an independent, and I will be and always will be. I'm also your neighbor. That's the most important piece of this. I want better roads, just like you do. I want safe neighborhoods. I want good-paying jobs in our community. And I'm sure that my opponent wants many of those things as well, but this race boils down to experience and knowledge to accomplish those things. I'm the only candidate that has volunteered with Kent Nonprofits for years. I've run a small business here. I'm the only candidate that was selected by voters to serve for 2 terms on the city council and unanimously elected to be council president. I'm the only candidate that the voters have selected to lead our wonderful city as mayor. With all of that experience comes results. We've secured millions of dollars of outside funding to invest in Kent. We've completed major roadways. That is a really fast time.
I know. We have so much to say. So much to say. I want to thank you, ladies. Ms. Bennett, Mayor Ralph. I appreciate the audience for your being interactive, engaging with your questions. It was a great situation. So I'm going to bring back to the podium CEO Zenobia Harris to wrap us up for the day.
And thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I sure appreciate you all for being here. And again, thank you so much to Todd Miner and Carmen Goers and the rest of the government affairs and our board of directors. This is something as a chamber that we really pride ourselves in making sure that we create these opportunities for our community members to understand who will be leading us into the future. And so again, I appreciate Mayor Ralph and the work that we've been able to do. And I also appreciate you, Don, coming in and joining the chamber as well. So if you guys have any questions, this is an open forum, meaning that you can always reach out to these members. On your table, the candidates, on your table is a QR code. It will take you directly to their website if you wanted to learn more about what they are doing, where they have been, and what they plan on doing here in the city of Kent. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time today.